To say that everything was perfect after I received Jesus as my Lord, I knew something had changed. I knew my life was different, but my husband didn't want anything to do with it. He continued on his path, and for a while I did too. I wasn't delivered immediately. Took probably about 6 months, and I was searching for a church. All that I knew was Catholic, and so I kept going to Catholic churches, just trying to find that peace that I saw in Pat Robertson's face, just trying to find that in a church, and I was not finding that. And then one day I went into a church, a Word of Faith church, and I began to cry the moment I walked in that door. And I cried through the whole service. I don't even know what the pastor was talking about, but this precious little black lady came up to me and put her arm around me, and she said, "Are you okay, baby?" And I said, "Yes, for the first time in my life, I'm okay." And that was a pinnacle moment. I loved these pastors. The pastor had stood for his wife. His wife wasn't saved, and they had divorced, and he stood for his wife, and after 9 months they remarried. So I thought, well, if that could work for them, it can work for us. And so I began to stand for my husband, and I was watching him go further and further away, and we were just drawing further away from each other. I was so in love with God. It was like I didn't care. And I was at everything. I was at all of the meetings. And then my husband, he began to resent me, resent the church, resent God. I remember this one night he was getting ready to leave for work, and he was standing at the bottom of these couple stairs, and he just said, "I don't want to be married to you anymore. You are a Jesus freak. I can't stand this anymore." And just with tears in my eyes, I just said, "Have a good night at work. I love you." And I just threw myself on the bed, and I said, "God, take this man out of my life. I will serve you all the days of my life. I will be single and I'll serve you. Just take him out of my life." And this was one of the very first audible times I heard God speak to me. And he said, "I can do that. But your ministry and your calling and your destiny involve this man." He said, "Yvonne, you would pray more fervently for a prostitute on the street than what you're praying for him." He said, "Stop seeing him as your husband that needs to get saved, and see him as my son, and I want him much more than you." For all this time, this had been 5.5 years, I would come into this church and I would just save him a seat. I didn't say a word to anybody. Nobody knew. And I knew that just like a mom when she's pregnant and is preparing the nursery, I wanted that church prepared to receive Chris when he came in. So nobody ever knew any of the stuff that I was going through. And I would just let them know, yes, the seed is saved for my husband. On Mother's Day, 1998, I just felt one last tug on my heart to write him a letter. I wrote him a letter, and I left and went to church. And in that letter, I told him, "I don't care if you ever tell me if you pray this or you don't, but I love you too much for you to go to hell. I want you to please pray this prayer." When I got home, the tables were turned, and I was standing at the bottom of those couple stairs, and I looked up at him. And for the first time, I saw a light on him. I saw a light in his eyes and a light in his face. I knew he had prayed that prayer. We were leaving and going to his mom's, and as we're driving, my daughter said, "Dad, I don't want you to go to hell." And he said, "I'm not going to go to hell because I've got Jesus in my heart." I was sitting in the passenger side and tears just began to stream down. That 5.5 years was over, and it seemed like it was nothing at that point. I was amazed at how quickly everything moved. I would come home and he'd be reading the Word. He would be listening to tapes. I was watching him grow by leaps and bounds. And not long after that, within a few months, he was sitting in that chair. I look back now and I realize he was always there. God was always there. He was there through everything. He was holding me. So maybe you're feeling that your situation is hopeless or helpless today. Maybe you're standing for a spouse. Maybe you have a child that's out there. Maybe it's your own physical healing that you need. Whatever it is, I can tell you that He is big enough to hold you and to help you through this. And it's going to turn out better than you could have ever imagined. We would love the opportunity at Vine Life to pray with you and to stand with you. So I ask you that you would please contact us at the number on the screen or through our website. And until next time, let's stay connected.